welcome back to my channel. Now we are going to hop right back in here with episode 3 of Sistas. Now where we left off, Gary and Andi was getting it in the living room on the couch, and in walks Dani. Because right now, first order of business is getting their girl Sabrina out of jail. So she busted them, and they are startled on the couch in a moment of weakness, Andi yet again. And Gary goes taking off in the bedroom, and Dani all flustered like, what? First of all, what are you doing? Well, I can see why it's hard for you to let that go. She was like, ain't he Nigerian? I forgot our brother Cheeto, who plays Gary. Yes, our African brother, so he got it going on. And so I kind of forgot that. So we see why it's even hard to with a brother from the motherland. Oh, yes. Andi, but you got to gather yourself, honey. Got to gather yourself, as good as it may be. Got to let it go. But anyway, he goes running, and she's arguing with like, no. Dani basically said he got to go. She's like, no, he don't. Yes, he do. No, he ain't. I don't want that thing going nowhere. But yes, we got to deal with your friends. You don't care nothing about your friends. She was like, that's not true. And, she was like, okay. She was like, have you heard from Sabrina? We got to hear from her. She was like, no. She was like, something's wrong. She's locked up. She was like, what? It's just like crazy. So, she was like, you didn't hear from her. I'm worried. What's her name? Karen, you ain't heard from her. So what's up? And she's basically like, these are grown women. They're grown. Yeah, they may be grown, but at the same time, they are friends, and I'm worried as to what's going on. So, next we pop in. So while they selling that, it goes on to Calvin. Calvin goes to the club. Maurice's friend, the bartender, forgot the guy's name, excuse me. But he's there, and he said, you evidently didn't heard. He's looking for Maurice. He tells him Maurice got locked up. He got locked up, basically set up by Q, turned state evidence on him. And he's like, what? He got the nerve, Maurice to be locked up, and Q was at the apartment, and he was like, what? And that was crazy. He was like, yeah, I knew that guy was trouble. I told him not to stay there. But let's not forget, and put in the comments for those who remember who had Q making dinner when Maurice got out of work one night, begging and pleading for him, feeling sorry about his story on how he was raised and brought up and molested and all this stuff. And Calvin talked him into having Q stay. Remember that? So how soon we forget Calvin? No, you're not going to blame Maurice on this. He didn't want him there. You pleaded with him to have him stay there. And so he got sucked in yet again. So that's both of your fault. So yeah, he found out, and he was like, well, what are you going to do? He said, we're going to go over there and get him out. And he was like, I'm going with you because he was once a football player, whatever. Don't let this outfit fool you. I'm like, yeah, just because you gay don't mean you don't know how to throw down. The man will come out and you will handle your business. But we see how that went. We saw how that went. And I'm like, this is not going to end well. And it surely didn't. Now, fast forward back to Andi talking to Gary and saying, you got to go. They kissing all lovey-dovey in the room. He's like, you sure? He was like, what is Dani doing here this late anyway? And she said something's going on with Sabrina. So, yes. Now, to rewind, the situation with jail, they was worried thinking that may be the case, but she didn't get into all that yet. But, yeah, we worried, and no, they hadn't heard from her, blah, blah, blah. So, then, she says, yeah, you have to leave. So, Gary gathers his things together, and he goes. Now, here we got Calvin back at the apartment. Him and the guy going to deal with Q, calling him out all tough like he gonna do something. We already saw you do the ballerina spill at the bank and fell out. Are you serious about this whole situation, Calvin? Like, you really think you can handle a man like Q? From the streets, been in jail, all this, and now you gonna come and all of a sudden, you gonna handle him? Okay. They go in the room, they find out that he's in there with some girl. They all tough, cursing him out, telling him to come out. He was like, who you think you talking to? You just bring your ass out in the living room or whatever, all tough. Now, oh boy, I thought he was a football player who knew how to do something, and I'm waiting for him to bring it. Well, they go in the queue telling him he have to leave. He's like, I'm not going nowhere. I got a warm bed, somewhere to lay my head. And now they're gonna ask him, did he first before that, they asked him, did you how did they put it? Did you got something to do with Maurice? Did you get Maurice locked up or something? He was like, no, I didn't. Some of the way they worded, they didn't say anything about jail, but he was like, no, I ain't sending him to jail or whatever. They said we didn't say anything about him going to jail. So something about, did you turn on Maurice or something like that to that effect, but they didn't say the jail part. He said it. And so he basically told on himself. So they was like, you pack up your stuff, you get the hell up out of here. And that's when he told them, he's not going anywhere. So I'm like, Q. So next thing you know, Q punches the heck up out of Calvin. He whoops his behind. Oh boy, from the club doing nothing but like all startled and frazzled. Like, just typical. Like, yo, bro, like handle your business. You was there to do something and you not doing anything. It was a joke. It was embarrassing. I'm like, he didn't even get a punch in, Calvin, on Q. It was really pathetic. I don't even know why they had it ride like that. But I mean, I knew it was going to happen. So bottom line is they wind up leaving instead of Q. I mean, it's crazy. And the thing about the situation is I don't even know if Calvin's on the lease. But I think Maurice may be the only one on the lease. So who is he really to make Q leave? Then if he say this guy had, robbed a bank and the tenant of this apartment is now in jail, or so, it can get crazy. It can get Q put out of his apartment if he ever gets out of there. And it's going to be a problem on Calvin, because if he's not on a lease, then Calvin and Q would have to go out. So if you think about the actual legalities of all of this, it may not go right for Calvin if Q gets in trouble. But bottom line, I would call somebody. This guy has to get out of here. He was supposed to stay one night or whatever. He had a problem, but he don't want to leave. He's not on this lease thing. I'm like, well, who's the person that is on the lease? Who's the owner of the apartment? And neither one of them can say anything. So it's going to be a problem for both. But I would just take that chance so he can get out the house and send Q out. I mean, Calvin will get out. He didn't do anything. Of course, nobody wants Maurice to lose his apartment. So, I mean, it's TV. They're going to act like none, they ain't probably even going to bring up none of that. You know how TV goes. But, yeah, that's something where I don't think it's hard getting Q up out of there, bottom line. So, next, Gary leaves the apartment. And Andi and Dani talk what's going on with Sabrina. So, Dani said, you don't care about your friends. And that's when she get in a situation about you haven't talked to Karen or Sabrina. So, Andi said she's going to call her contacts. Because she doesn't know what's going on. So but she didn't hear anything before, but Dani said, well, you've been busy for a few hours here with Gary. So how do you know? Where's your phone? So she can't find the phone. She said, go check in the room or whatever. So she goes in the room, she gets the phone, and lo and behold, there was 3 missed calls. So her contact person, she had missed the calls. So now Sabrina's extra stressed out. She was like, wait a minute, there's other people I know that I can call. So said, you gotta deal with this, because Sabrina can't deal with jail. And she said, I know, I'm gonna call around. So now Andi finds out that Sabrina is locked up, and she's not in regular jail, she's in federal jail, because it's a situation with the bank. They got her on these bank robbery, charges or whatever. It's a problem. And now Sabrina's like, oh my God. And she said, but there's a situation where she can't do anything. She got to figure something out, because this is not her lane. She's a divorce attorney. She's not about federal. So now she has to ask questions and she has to see what's going on herself. So Dani at this point wants to contact, the Fed guy who and Dani's like, no, Andi's like, no, you cannot do that. Don't talk to him. Don't let him know nothing's going on, because the situation is get worse. She's locked up now because of this. And if this guy told you this information, it can get worse. What is he gonna do for you? You know, at this point now, he basically used you to get to Sabrina. So he's not gonna help you, Dani. That's a wrap. So Andi ruled against that, knowing how these legal matters go. So she's saying it can get worse. So they're hoping now they got to do something, because it's bad. And what she didn't want to let her know was the fact that you know, when she called her contacts, MAURICE, they have him down as a confessional. So this whole situation is not looking good. So that's crazy. And now they're like, we really have to do something, but it's really a waited out situation. And it just looks really, really bad, because once you start going federal outside of, you know, a state case, it really gets stickier. And the jurisdiction really gets a little different. So that's a bad situation. Anything federally that has to do with a bank. Now, so on to the next scene is Fatima's. Fatima's at the gym, and she's getting ready. You know, the whole culmination of what happened the night before. She's trying to get in a good headspace, and I know working out, for anyone that works out knows, it relieves stress and gets a lot off your mind. So situation with Karen and the baby, I'm sure she wants to relieve stress from that. She went through her prayer and meditation, which is amazing to do for wellness. Get her day back on track and started with a positive vibe. But Zach wants to bring up that situation and talk about it, and she doesn't want to. It's not like you don't want to, but once you get your head straight in a certain mindset, you really don't want to pedal back from that, because that's what your prayer and affirmations was all about, to put you on a positive road. But, you know, Zach's trying to stir all that up, and he's like, when I want to talk about stuff, you know, you don't want to. Now, when I do, you don't want to. So Zach, is just not the time. Just let me get this in proper perspective, and we'll deal with it later. So he's still going back and forth on this. She was like, okay, you can go to the gym with me. Let's just go to the gym. Yeah, so that's what the whole situation was. Now, she tried to explain with him, because he was like, oh, you think you tough, you think you gangster. She was like, ain't no thinking, you really don't know my family. We find out Madam from All the Queen's Men, one of Tyler Perry's other shows, you know, come to find out, Madam is her cousin. If any of you seen that show, if you haven't, go check it out. I can't wait for season 3. It's off the chain, and you know, give it up for our girl Eva Marcel. She's killing that role. But now, you know, they spinning it. You know, Tyler tends to connect his shows. So Fatima is Madam's cousin, and she basically explains to Zach, you don't know my family. The things you've done is child's play compared to what my family done. And Madam is ruthless and have all these connections on so many different levels. So as we see in future episodes, she's going to get her to work with Andi, because Andi feels defenseless, to try to get Madam to help her with the situation with Sabrina. So we have yet to see how that unravels. But she tried to tell her, she tried to take a different path. She wants to be better. She doesn't want to follow in her family's footsteps. So she put her life on a different road, and she wants to introduce her to Zach. So Zach is going to really see Madam, and he going to know what the deal is with that one. So I can't wait for them to meet, because she said that Madam could have, well, we just say her cousin because she don't say who, but her cousin could have had, you know, could have been a dirt nap for Hayden, but she helped out and didn't make it that severe. She just got the boys on him. Zach like, why you spare him? For what reason? Come on, she didn't want it to get that messy. Just put the fear of God in him. But yeah, it could have turned out different. But so now Calvin calls Dani about MAURICE being locked up, and said that he has $20,000 to try to, you know, get Sabrina out if he has to. And she was playing with him, saying, okay, bring on the money, because she was going to pocket that money. But they don't really know the bail and all that now. But she told him they're going to keep each other posted for anything that may happen. You know, that's about all you could do is give the money and wait, because you sure can't do anything else when it comes to Q in this situation, because you should have handled that. You should have had some boys in the street if you can't fight, or somebody to put the fear of God in Q, because he needs to be dealt with for causing all of this mess. Seriously. So she said keep her posted, and they're gonna look out. If either one of them hears anything, they'll let the other one know. Now Preston called in the meantime, called Dani, asked if he could go out to dinner with her. This man is stressing, he driving, he got to get this off his heart, because bottom line is he don't want to marry his high school sweetheart. He wants a sister, and he just needs to talk to her. It's things he needs to get off their chest. They both need to talk. I said this in prior episodes. They need to not ignore the fact of the feelings she has for him, the frustrations, really get deep into what's going to happen with them, what her issue is with him. And he has to speak on really how he feels about her and that whole situation, and really clear the air, because you're springing this whole X on her suddenly. So y'all do need to have a talk. But she said there's a lot I'm dealing with now. A lot, with Sabrina. He, no, you can't help me right now, but I'm dealing with some stuff. So I'll deal with you later, because it's really bad time and pressing. It really is. So now Karen gets up the next morning, and she's with her mom, and they dealing with the whole situation with she made her breakfast, and they having a chat, and of course she's just basically telling her her feelings with Zach, because her mom asked her well, first she told her that she had a dream that Zach was by, and the mother told her that, yeah, Zach was by, but I didn't let him see you because I don't want him to stress you. She was like, oh, thank you. But she knew she didn't mean that. I'm like, Karen wished she woke her up, because she would have loved to see Zach. She wouldn't have had the attitude like she did with Aaron. She would have loved him to come by. How you doing? How's the baby? She would have loved that, and she know it. But she said, even the mother didn't believe that. She said, Mom, but I want to get over him. I'm glad, I guess she didn't see him because she don't want those feelings to go flooding out again. But she knows they're not going nowhere. Those feelings are not anywhere. She doesn't even want Aaron in the picture, even though he's the only one that's there for her. And there's a 50% chance. I mean, to sit up there and tell her mom, I just want him to be there, get over him so he can just be there for the baby. You don't know if he's the father, Karen. Why do we keep revisiting this? And mom's like, well, what if he's not? It's the thing is, are you sure he's the father? You already know that it's a chance that somebody else could be the father. So why are you even asking her that question? Why are you even asking her, well, what if he isn't, and all this? And she go, oh, yeah, you're right. Stop acting stupid. He may not be the father, and Aaron very well may be. So get Zach off your mind and just deal with you and your baby until you can find out who the father is. You're putting yourself through added stress when you don't even have the answers yet, so you can know in the direction you have to go. Your baby has to be the first priority, Karen. So her mom was telling her, in order to get this off her chest, because she said she wants to get over him, you need to write a letter, which she does, because Karen's all over the place. I understand her logic, her mom, in writing letters to get, because when I write, I can easily, express myself better, get my thoughts out in paper without the emotion of seeing individuals and trying to talk to them, and it gets heated, and you say things you maybe shouldn't have, or you miss something that you wish you did. So to put it out on paper really lays out everything, so they both can have an understanding of how you feel about each, and how you feel about the situation, and how you're going to handle it going forward. So write those letters so you can express yourself in a way that brings more peace and less emotion. But she says you still need to do the letter, and being that you have it on paper, when you read it to them and see them face to face, you won't miss anything, because you still need to confront them with these words. But putting it on paper gives you more clarity, and has you not miss the things that you wish you would have said. So that's a good exercise. It's about bringing them both to the table. She thinks it's absolutely crazy, because Karen likes to deal with them both separately, so she can say something to one that she wouldn't say to the other. But I think it's good bringing them both to the table, because they both know the situation. And now, so there's nothing hidden. Have everybody come out. I cannot wait to see this meeting. I cannot wait to see how this goes. Yeah, and even being that Fatima is going to be a part of this, as she's now his fiance, which Karen doesn't know yet. But I think she needs to be there. I mean, it's something that Fatima's probably wants to handle on want him to handle on his own. But being that you're going to be a part of his life, if he's in the picture, she's going to be in the picture in that child's life. If he's the father, she needs to be there to hear that too. So that's what she said in the exercise with the two that the mother had agreed on. Yeah. So that was it with them. Now, they fast forward, and this when Andi, the next scene is when Andi talks to Dani when she comes over the next day. And at that time, that's when Andi found out more information on the situation with Sabrina, that it's a federal crime, and that, you know, Maurice got arrested. Well, one of the things that Dani told Andi was that the Maurice, the guy that she was saying, they think that he turned state's evidence and blamed them for the robbery, and that's how Sabrina got involved. And they like, Andi like, she didn't do this, and she was like, I know, but that didn't stop them from arresting her. I mean, the situation looks bad. And that's when Andi told her that they got him on tape confessing. It's crazy because it was a joke confession. I mean, even the way he sounded, if they took the whole conversation and didn't take it out of context and heard him from the beginning to the end, and he didn't alter the tape in any way, they would have seen it was a joke and he was being sarcastic and he wanted him out of his house. But bottom line is, Maurice, you should have never had an ex-con that had you at gunpoint and, you know, basically had armed robbery and robbed your bank that you worked in, living in your house anyway. So it does look bad, like y'all was in cahoots, because you should have never been with this man. That's why it looks so bad, because he should have never been staying there. So now we have Fatima and Zach at the gym in the next scene, and you know, they going through whatever, working out, and of course, who pops in? Oh, Deja like, oh, how you doing? Fatima trying to block out and work out with the headphones. Oh, it's good seeing y'all. She trying to ignore her. Now here Deja talking about something done broke, a plumbing or something, her toilet in her apartment. Zach like, okay, I'll take care of it. Okay, thank you. And then she wants to get rubbing on him and all this. You know, you such a great landlord. And that's when Fatima had to drop the weight and step to her. Why is everything always breaking in your apartment? What's your story? Oh, I thought your earphones was in. Thought you wasn't listening. I said that damn Deja. Oh my God, Zach, you just bring trouble to yourself and this poor woman at every turn. And here this girl is going to be a thorn in his side for the next 6 months. Playing these games, and she does it in front of Fatima. She don't care. She trying to play. We already know she don't need to go there with Fatima, but she wants to play these games. So of course, you know, Fatima had to step to her with the BS, and she was like, okay, you know, clowning around. So Zach was like, oh, you know, you got gangster in your blood, you got thug in your blood and all that. But she said, well, you know, okay, you joke, but you wait till you meet my cousin. So at that time, Aaron comes by. And already, you know, Deja left, here go, and she's like, oh boy. So she was like, I need to talk to you. Aaron was like, I need to talk to you. Zach was like, okay. He said, it's about Karen. He said, can I talk to you in private? He said, whatever you can say to me, you can say in front of my girl. So he tells him, you know, Karen's in the hospital. You know, she's on bed rest now. She got relieved. And, you know, I'm just saying, so you don't do anything to stress out, or we don't do anything to cause any stress. He was like, I'm not stressing her. He really don't want nothing to do with it, but he was like, you know, I'm just letting you know, because, you know, he knows y'all both in this together. So we need to work as a team until we find out who's the baby daddy, get on Maury's show or whatever, and straighten this out, and not cause her any harm or any harm to the baby. So he was just telling her what the situation was, and he gets a little emotional and a little heated, and they have their words, and Aaron winds up leaving, and, you know, he's like, bye, Fatima, and he's like, no, don't go there, like, don't even say nothing to my girl. And so Fatima's looking at him like, why are you so hostile? And she's like, do you still love Karen? Because to be so mad at Aaron, become so volatile. Normally when a person is done with a person, the mention of their name or whatever about them, it kind of rolls off you, and nothing bothers you. Because, women tend to say, when I don't argue about anything, or I don't say anything to you, to a man, when I'm done, you don't hear me arguing, you don't hear me saying a word, and I'm quiet, that means I'm done with you. When I'm no longer wasting my breath to address the issue, when I'm no longer seem angry over a situation, and you're calm, that means you've relieved yourself. You've gotten therapy for it. You've learned to heal past a toxic or a bad relationship, or you actually really over a person. You don't have those type of emotions. So I get what Fatima was saying. Because you still do, there still must be feelings. But I think it's just so much going on, because trying to deal with Karen and still trying to appease Fatima, it's a lot in Zach's situation, being in the middle of this. But like she told him before, last episode, this is a situation that you brought to yourself. I don't bring my exes, don't come to you with no drama. I've been dealing with your exes and drama. Your past has been at my doorstep, and it's becoming a lot. So if you still have feelings for her, let me know. But she's constantly drilling it. Now, if a person says something, Fatima, you're going to have to take his word for it and move on, and try not to go crazy and stress yourself over this situation. But because she didn't heal from her ex, as I said before, and she's still making a comparison, they're too close together. You didn't heal and get therapy for dealing with Ian, so now Zach is going to have to pay for the brunt of that. Even though it's two situations, Zach is bringing her a lot of similarities and a lot of problems at her doorstep that she can't handle it. That's why, ladies, we have to heal from something before going into something else, because that person may pay for what the other did, even though it's similar and you have a reason to feel the way you feel. What Zach is going to have to do is constantly reassure her that you have nothing to worry about, as she's striving to heal herself, because she has to do the work on herself too, while he's trying to work in the direction of doing better and not making the same mistakes, and reassuring her at the same time. So they both have to do their part in healing that, if they choose to be together, or it's going to constantly be a bad road of a lot of arguing, fights, and mistrust and stress, and neither one of them want that. So they both going to have to work on themselves individually and together, because it's triggering. It's really triggering for her. And then it's going to trigger him soon too, because him and Karen used to argue a lot. So I'm sure he don't want to go over that with Fatima as well, the same way. So they going back and forth arguing. And he's saying, I'm telling you over and over, I wake up in the morning, you're bringing up Karen. I'm going to sleep, you're bringing up Karen. That's not good either. That's stressful. I won't want to deal with that as a man. So as he's going on and on with her, back and forth on what are they going to do, as if, we can't stop this. We basically, are we not going to be together? Because she's like, but what do you mean? So he's like, you know what I mean, Karen? Or what? And why did he say that? She's like, what did you say? He knew he put his foot in his mouth as soon as came out of his mouth. Zach. Yikes! But you don't call is the other person's name, especially when they got a problem with that person. So we will see episode 4, how that comes back, and how Zach redeems himself from calling Fatima another woman's name. Thank you for joining me, family. Until next time, stay authentically you. Continue living the life you deserve, because there's no one else like you. Peace and love and light.